Starting your own business, got one going, but need to know how to really proceed forward? There are a number of free resources that you can take advantage of to help you along your way. That word is free, yes. I'm speaking today with Albany, New York based serial entrepreneur Robert Manasier, and we get into deep detail about this.
Robert, tell us about what happens if somebody has an idea. They're not sure where to go, but they've heard, hey, there might be some free resources out there to start a business or at least think about it. How would you advise a person like that to proceed?
Yeah, I would advise everybody, and we do this every day, is if you have an idea or a startup or you're actually in business, try to start with free resources. And the one I'm going to point to is the one that I'm part of because it's an umbrella for the region. It's called Innovate518, right? If you go there, there's a very short contact form that'll go in the system. We'll look at it. We'll give you some recommendations on where to go, because I think a lot of times when you're starting or you're in business, there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of options to choose from. And the tough part is figuring out what options are best for you, but more importantly, how to save as much money as possible, right? Because in business, you have to spend money. And I always say this, everything cannot be free. But this resource, because it's backed by the state, is free. And it's a great place to start. At some point, you're going to have to hire advisors and consultants and other people with skill sets that you don't have. Mm-hmm. But at the very beginning, you don't have to spend the money. And, you know, we always talk about saving time and money, right? Those are the two magic formulas in business. This is a great way to hopefully save both, because we're going to give you some direction, or you're going to get some direction. And that's usually the biggest problem, especially with ideas and people just ready to start. Yeah. They don't know. They haven't been through it before.
Right.
Or if they've been through it before, it didn't go well. So why don't you hear from people that have done it before, are here to kind of structure you properly? You know, if your structure is good at the beginning, you're going to have a better progression and development as a company.
That's correct. That's correct. And I assume you've seen people come in, entrepreneurs with ideas, and they already, oh, I have this one, I already have this person, this person. I mean, they already have a staff lined up pretty much, and they're kind of going flying blind pretty much. So that's where you, at least, and when they come to you, you're kind of like steering them, well, like you just said, in the right direction to kind of allocate those correctly, maybe. Or how would you, if they already have a staff, how do you, but they're not really going well with it, how do you handle that?
Well, we see that a lot. There's a lot of bloated startups. Like they haven't made any money, they have no clients, but there's 10 people on their team.
Ooh.
Like literally, I don't know why. But regardless, part of the process is to put everybody in the right role, but marrying them to responsibilities and metrics. And that's something we do really well at Innovate518 and at IgniteU and a lot of our affiliate partners in the umbrella, right?
Okay.
You can have a lot of well-meaning people on your team. If you don't have a cogent plan that's tied to individual responsibilities based on their skill sets and tied to metrics, you are just active. We set up milestones that are based on metrics. That's one of the first things I do with everybody. Here's your battle plan, but here's the numbers that you have to attach to it, right? If you need co-founders, who's the co-founders and when do you need them by? There's a milestone, right? Activity does not lead to successful business, right? Activity could lead to wasted time and wasted money. You need to tie everything to a metric. You don't always have to hit that metric, right? It's not like set in stone. If I don't hit this metric, I'm done. But if you don't hit the metric, there's a few things. One is you're not going to market properly. Right. You don't have the right team to go to market, or you don't know who you're supposed to be talking to. And we do a lot of work early on to identify your target market. Most companies don't talk to the right target market, right customer base. So for Innovate518, we're mostly based on high technology companies. We use the I-Corps program through National Science Foundation to kind of help with customer discovery. Our affiliate partners in the umbrella of Innovate518 have a very similar model to kind of figure out who you should be trying to sell to, because a lot of people waste a lot of money going after the wrong people. And here's the one line I hate to hear, and I hear it every day. Who is your business or service for? And then the entrepreneur or the business owner says, everybody.
Ooh.
There is no business on this planet or no product on this planet that appeals to everybody. And everybody always throws back water. Everybody needs water. True. But how many brands of water are there?
A lot.
Right. A few hundred at least, right?
Yeah, a lot.
So obviously water does not sell to everybody. There's certain brands that sell. And that's mostly based in this country because the bottled water craze has not reached the rest of the planet, I don't believe. So
You might be right, and I'm not really sure, but so you got to get focused. The entrepreneur or the solopreneur or whoever it is has to get focused on the audience. A lot of times they're not, and they say everybody. It's like, I just want to throw it out there and see what happens. But some people must come to you with specifics like that, and they kind of know who they want, but your team directs them, gets them niched, I guess is the right word. Am I using the right word? Niched?
yeah, well, to start, you can't go wide. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the biggest kind of different way. A lot of people say go wide and see who shows up. Most people don't have the time and money to go wide, and you don't have the staff to go wide.
No.
Right? Because messaging and marketing are specific to a target market. You can't use one phrase and it goes to everybody and it works.
Yeah.
So that's one of the problems. But the other thing you said about focus is a lot of times they're focused on their technology and not on the user experience. And that's the other thing to break. A lot of inventors, a lot of scientists, very smart people are so focused on the technology that they forget that the technology doesn't mean anything to your business if you don't have a paying client. So
That's
you
right.
need to focus on customers. You need to focus on users. You need to figure out how they're going to use it, not the way you're going to use it or the way you built it. It's the way the user uses it in their life. But the other thing is, most people think their startup is a small version of their future company, and it isn't. A startup is a process. You're almost like a detective. You're putting out, or a scientist, you're putting out hypotheses of what you think your company does. But until you get to the user that's going to buy it, you don't have a business yet. So you're always in that trial and error period. And a lot of people, why we try to limit their spends up front, is you're not going to get it right the first few times.
No.
You're going to be wrong. You have to expect to be wrong. But people put all their money on one bet. And that's not a great way to start, because once that money's gone, you don't always have a well to go back to.
So the entrepreneur generally has a specific skill set that he or she is good at. But most of the time, and I bet you see this a lot, they're trying to do all of everything. They're trying to dig down and do the technical part. They're also trying to do, say, the social media part, and they're trying to do all the financials and be a bookkeeper at the same time, and tons and tons of marketing. And it's like, sometimes with that,
All the time. You always feel like that. I don't care how big your business gets.
how do you
always
handle
feel
a
like that.
solopreneur who's in that kind of a situation?
Well, sometimes they get services they don't need yet, right? If you're not doing any revenue, do you really need a bookkeeper? Right. And I see that. And no offense to bookkeepers, you need a bookkeeper to set up your finances. But
Yeah.
do you need to put somebody on a payroll to do things that you don't even have coming in yet?
Yeah. you're
Right. And we use in the Innovate518 bucket, we use a lot of internships, experiential learning opportunities. So our startups can get some beginning help that doesn't cost them as much.
Okay.
And it also is a great trial period to see how or who you should hire as your company progresses, right? A lot of those students who get those experiential learning opportunities might become early employees with you because you already have a background and experience with them.
Right.
You can test them with very low risk in your company while you're training them. You are not going to build a company on interns, right? And that's another fallacy we see all the time. One is they're not free, and two is you need to train them, right? A lot of people go, I have interns, I just give them a job and go. Well, they don't know, and they don't know how you work or what your company does. So there is a training period that we always put in, and it starts with conversation and brainstorming and need, right? But it's always tied back to metrics, always.
On that subject of interns, that's an interesting subject, because I guess a lot of companies do use interns, but in the beginning, in the first stages, do they try to do that? Have you seen that?
Yes, we do it all the time at Innovate518, but it depends what you're talking about, right? You're running research, you're doing marketing and social media. Anybody in college right now is a better social media person than any of us, any executive, I don't care if you're a CMO or you've been in marketing your whole life, they grew up in it.
Yeah.
So that is an easy place to plug and play some students, as long as you understand who you're talking to, going back to customer discovery, right? Because social media and messaging to the wrong audience still turns out the same result, which is zero, right?
You're
So
talking
that's where you
about,
have to spend the time.
so you're talking about on social media with targeted, experimental targeting, I guess, in the beginning. Are you going that direction? How
Well,
does that work?
the beauty of social media is you can post for free, right? You might not get great interaction, but you're going to see what kind of interaction you get.
That's true.
Right? But you have to be consistent, and your messaging has to be on point to the person or the customer you're trying to talk to.
Yes.
It's a great way to start dialogues and relationships.
Yeah, which is what I do. I do that a lot. For sure.
You're always on.
All the time. Let's widen out a bit. And how long has Innovate518 been in existence in New York State?
It is part of the hotspot program, so it has been around for 7 years. We've been part, or I've been part of it the last 4. It took us that long to kind of find where we should play in the space.
Okay.
Our model's based on collaboration with our affiliate partners.
Okay.
There's a lot of different models around the state in the 10 regions. Our region is all about collaboration and resource allocation, right? So we have a lot of partners doing their own thing, but we come together to try to create,
So Innovate518.
appreciate we're the ecosystem, right?
Okay. Innovate518 would be the umbrella organization then.
Yes. And if you go to Innovate518, you will see all of our affiliate partners listed with websites. You can check them out yourself. What we usually do is if we take the intake form in, we kind of refer you to 2 or 3 organizations we think would be good for what you're trying to do. And it's up to you as the business owner, founder, startup idea person to actually go see them and make your own decision. We will have conversations about that decision, right? And a process to put you on a path to development and hopefully market insertion.
So market insertion, that's a great phrase. I love that phrase. But that's what you do, and it's just like a slide into the market kind of thing, based on where they need to be,
and not spending so much money along the way, right?
Okay,
Test.
you're right. Yes, the money outlay. We're on the internet doing this, so obviously you're based in Albany, New York, Capital District. How far do you extend? Could somebody from Buffalo use your services? Could somebody from Burlington, Vermont use your? I mean, I'm just trying to understand how far you reach with this.
So I have a counterpart in Buffalo that I'd gladly introduce anybody to. We oversee the 8 counties of the capital region.
Okay, that's what I was.
From Greene and Columbia in the south to Warren and Washington in the north.
Okay.
Right? But we have taken companies from Europe, from Florida, from Texas, from Illinois, who have established second offices in New York State using this program.
Okay.
So our reach is national or international, and we try to find good fits. We do a lot of medical, a lot of biotech, obviously with the health science campus at UAlbany,
yeah,
and with Albany Med. So, our reach is vast, but we try to make sure that we're building an economic development pipeline and job creation for this region. And my counterparts are doing it for their regions.
Okay. So in effect, if somebody wants to get involved in this region and doing something like that, and they're from Europe or some other state or region in this state, you'll help them. And so in that respect, you are kind of, I want to say universal with regard to that part anyway. So that sounds, it sounds like you're wide and varied. I hear a lot about IgniteU specifically. What IgniteU is under the umbrella of Innovate518, but what do they do exactly?
So it's a separate organization, right? All of our affiliate partners are separate.
Okay.
IgniteU is a private accelerator out of Troy, New York. We've been there for going on 6 years.
Okay.
In the last few years, we've changed that to only operational companies that we focus on scaling their operations. So if you don't have paying customers, you can't be accepted into the cohort. There's no money asked for. There's no equity taken like typical accelerators. So it's free to the cohort. You just have to get through the application process. Mm-hmm. Typically what we do there is work on messaging, escalation, revenue and client escalation. And we fix a lot of those problems when companies start working that their partners, co-founders, staff, they don't have clear defined roles and responsibilities, even at the partnership level. And a lot of times they're not structured properly to do what they want to do as a corporation or as a partnership. So we work on all of that in very short amount of time. So in the winter, we do an MWBE and veteran focused cohort.
Oh, okay.
That runs for 6 weeks. But what we're known for is our summer accelerator, which is agnostic. Anybody can apply. And that runs for 8 weeks during the summer.
Okay. Wow. A lot going on there. Robert, I think we're going to wrap this particular segment up at this point. But I look forward to, and I think the listeners and viewers will too, further discussions on where to turn to and maybe some specifics on how the actually works. And maybe at some point, I think we mentioned it before, we can maybe get a small business owner or somebody who's gone through the program or is in the program now to come on with us on a Zoom call or something of some type and talk about it, because I think people are fascinated by that.
Yeah, we just had 5 or 6 of our companies showcased in Times Union and Albany Business Review. So any of those are available to talk about their journey, and they're all very different journeys.
Okay, because the idea of storytelling is wonderful. It will do the company itself good, and people are fascinated by it. So I would look forward to doing that with you and a lot of others.
Let me know, Chris.
All right, live long and prosper, Robert.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You too.